being a combat sports fan, sometimes you have these weekends or these 2 week stretches where there's multiple events: boxing, MMA, foreign MMA. I'm an American, so I refer to it that way. But sometimes you get these weekends where there's Gervonta Davis is fighting in boxing and a big UFC card on a Saturday night, maybe a ONE FC event, maybe even a Bellator event on a Friday evening. This was not one of those weekends in terms of high level fights, unless you're a fan of Anderson Silva. The UFC fight night tonight had Holly Holm. She lost another tough decision to Ketlin Vieira. There was a WBO middleweight title fight that ended in a knockout in Vegas. Cool. Those fighters are all super talented. Be fun to watch in person. But none of them has me waiting on the results and trying to find a stream or just see some highlights of Anderson Silva. I mean, I'm an unabashed Anderson Silva fan. He once again put on a show in a boxing ring. I guess at this point it's last night. I hope I'm able to remain objective and recognize the level of fighters that he's fighting against. And then think about, his last run in the UFC. Of course, over his last 9 fights, he was 1-8 with a draw. And I won't argue about some of these fights, but I will bring them up. There's some argument that he won the Michael Bisping fight. Did he or did he not? I don't know. He did toy with Nick Diaz during that run when Nick Diaz was still close to his prime. He did stand with Israel Adesanya and somehow survived a fight with Daniel Cormier on only like 2 days' notice. So even during that 1-8 stretch, there's some moments where Anderson Silva was able to be quite competitive. At this point, 47 years old, I got to say, nothing he does surprises me. There's nothing he could do that would surprise me. And look, I know his level of competition is not great in the boxing ring compared to the types of fighters that he has fought in the UFC. I get it. Clearly, some of these guys he's fighting are beneath him in terms of world-class combat sports competition. But I want to just frame this up a little bit, him still going in there and competing and putting on a show, even though he had the size advantage, which he didn't normally have in his MMA career. He had the reach advantage, which he didn't often have, especially when he fought at light heavyweight. Anderson Silva fought in pride, and I mean pre-Zuffa purchase pride. He fought in cage rage, which to my knowledge is defunct now, and I could be wrong. And whether it's defunct or not, here's another way to think about it. He fought Lee Murray. Yeah, that Lee Murray. The one who's been in a Moroccan jail since like 2007. Anderson Silva fought him. It's 2022. He just won another boxing match, in case you don't know, and you're still listening. It was an exhibition against Bruno Machado. And I'm not here to say that you should know who Bruno Machado is. This is not some George Foreman level defiance of Father Time. Hell, honestly, knowing Anderson Silva, or at least observing him, I don't think he would defy Father Time anyway. I think he'd probably just smile at Father Time and laugh. And then wake up the next day and go to the gym and train anyway. What's my point? Do I want Silva out there fighting top-level guys in boxing? Of course not. Absolutely not. But the problem is he kind of has already. And he showed us that he could go in there and survive. Now, regardless of what you think of Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in his overall career path, 7 months before fighting Silva, he had a TKO win over someone. I don't even know the guy's name, but the guy was 14-2. I did look it up. He fights Silva 7 months later, and Silva outclasses him. Chavez Jr. was a world champion at one point. If I remember correctly, he was a world champion 2 times, but I might be wrong on that. And then that first fight, he tried to load up on heavy leads or maybe just pot shot. Okay? And Silva was able to dodge or block one strike. Look, he could dodge one strike at a time when he's 70. And that's with kicks, punches, and elbows and knees included. If you're just talking about the hands, Silva made it look easy. He slipped and countered. Eventually, he froze Chavez Jr. And Chavez Jr. is the son of one of the greatest fighters ever on his way to a one-sided win. Some places have Silva's win over Chavez Jr. listed as a split decision. I have no idea what fight they watched. Silva knocks out Tito Ortiz in a weird boxing match. And no, I do not believe it was fixed. Watch the shot that lands. It was on the button, disoriented Ortiz immediately. He went down the same manner he's been KO'd before in MMA. And tonight, or last night, he fights Bruno Machado, who gave up a lot of weight. So that was a sign that someone wanted Silva to win. I get it. I'm not naive. There's probably a plan in the works to keep Silva as an option to possibly get in the ring with one of the Paul brothers, whichever one is the biggest weight bully. I think it's Jake. Jake's the guy who knocked out Tyron Woodley, right? But if I remember correct, Jake Paul walked into the ring at like 210, 212 when he fought Tyron Woodley that second time, and he flatlined him. So, fighting Machado for Silva, Machado was clearly there. He was not there to be the story. Machado's an MMA fighter, making his boxing debut, 13-9 MMA record. I think he holds a world champion in a Middle Eastern organization. I don't know the name of it. And he did take some good shots. That huge shot that was a knockdown was quite impressive. Silva just kind of shoe-shined him down low and then came up top with the overhand right. And look, again, to not be naive, Machado is part of Team Nogueira, or he was before. So maybe he wasn't there to avoid being the story. Maybe he was there to lose. That's possible. I get it. I'm a little conflicted about seeing him possibly even take on a guy like Jake Paul, which appears to be what we're building toward. Paul's MO is to fight, past their prime MMA guys in boxing, so removing them of many of their weapons. Obviously, in the case of Tyron Woodley, a real fight, a no-rules fight, Tyron Woodley can take Jake Paul down immediately and control where that fight happens. So this fits the pattern. And clearly, Paul could hurt Silva if he lands the right shot. There's a part of me that hopes it happens, if that's what Silva wants. If he just wants to go out there and have fun and fight guys like Machado, people that he's better than, I'm okay with that. Everything he's done and accomplished and given us as fight fans, if he wants to fight guys like Bruno Machado, no disrespect to him, until he's 50, I would watch. I would root for him. Let's put it that way. I will definitely watch, though, if he fights Jake Paul. One day, Jake Paul is going to have his own day to take punishment. And that could come if he chooses to fight Anderson Silva, to be honest with you. Let me know what you guys think of a potential Silva-Paul fight in a boxing ring. I guess in 2022. There has to be a boxing card to put it on. And it would headline, I guess it's Triller or Thriller, however you say it. And it'd just be another night for me to nervously watch, hoping for yet another moment of brilliance by Anderson Silva, who's given us so many. Let me know what you guys thought of the Silva exhibition against Machado, or Floyd's body shot KO former sparring partner, training partner Don Moore.